Hey everyone, welcome to the Squad. This is the Park Squad Pod, a podcast where four friends catch up and chat about all things Disney, day-to-day life, and more. My name is Haley, and I'm your host for today's episode, and I'm here with the rest of the squad.
I'm Tommy.
And I'm Brandon.
And not all of the rest of the squad. We are missing Heidi today, which is very sad.
Yeah, this is a podcast where three friends catch up.
Today's is three friends. Usually it's four. Yeah. So if you notice that there is a fourth person missing, you were correct. Today, we're already on episode 18, which is crazy. We've been gone for a while, but we're back.
Oh, yeah, back,
We've
baby.
Had some summer plans. Everybody's kind of been in different parts of the U.S. and in Canada. Mm-hmm. So we've been scattered about the East Coast for a while. But with episode 18, we are doing the Squad's Imagineering plans for Walt Disney World. So we're kind of going to go through. And Brandon and I did this when we were just in Disney World. And then while we were doing it, we were like, maybe we should just do this on the pod. But we went through and we literally walked around the park and decided like what things should go, what should come here, what should stay, what can be improved. So we're going to go through the three of us and decide what we think should come or go in Walt Disney World. And with D23 coming up, just in like a month now, which is crazy.
Yeah, a little
less
over
than
a month.
that
Yeah,
or over.
I think we go down the 8th. I think it starts the 9th, or maybe it starts the 8th.
So right,
a little
bit
right
over a month.
Yeah.
But so we decided that we should have our takes before we go and get the official takes. Hopefully we get a lot of them in August. But for right now, this will be the squad's takes on what should happen in Walt Disney World.
I'm excited. I think there's lots to talk about, and it's going to be fun. It'll be like a free-flowing episode and just like a little chit-chat of all this stuff. But yeah, we're so glad to be back. I think this whole summer has been so busy with like a lot of stuff going on, but it's nice that we're sitting here with microphones recording and chatting. It feels so good.
Yeah, it has been a while, but it's also like good. Like it's like a hobby and like passion project. So instead of kind of like forcing it, like making everybody like cancel their plans, I feel like just flowed a little nicey.
Yeah, we set out with the bi-weekly goal over the summer to kind of allow some of that flexibility. And I think things were a little bit even more busy than we expected.
Yeah.
But that was really kind of a goal all along. So, really just trying to record when we can until D23, and then we'll get back into gear.
Yeah. So if you missed us, we apologize, but we are back now, and we have a lot for you today. And I think it'll be, like Brandon said, just kind of like a conversational, like chill episode. So like you can either yell at us like in your cars while you listen to it if you disagree and like think we have bad takes, or you can agree. And always like if you agree or disagree, leave us comments down below, because we like to look at them and like decide if we agree with people, or if like our takes were bad or yours were better.
Yeah, definitely.
So like I said, Brandon and I, so I'm not an annual pass holder. So I bought my first ticket in, like over 2 years probably.
Long time. Yeah, long time.
And so Brandon and I ended up at Animal Kingdom in the morning.
Yeah.
And we ended up kind of just doing like an Imagineer walk. Like we were just like walking back, because we decided that it was my last time probably ever in Dino Land, which is so sad.
Yeah, probably.
But so we decided to go back and like pay my tributes to Dino Land. We single-handedly tried to keep it open. We spent like $40 at the Dino Land games.
Last minute cash injection.
Yeah, won like 2 small prizes.
And we found out what the hottest place on Disney property is, and it's the photo booth in Dino Land. We were just like doing everything that you could possibly do there.
And like the photo booth, I think it was so worth it, because I think it's like one of my favorite souvenirs that we have. But it is like a hot box, like a sauna. What was it? Feels like 103 while we were there.
Yeah.
And it was just
so 130 hot in there.
And it's also like the oldest photo booth ever. Like that thing has not been touched since it got put in. So there's like things that like say push up and down. So I'm like trying to touch the screen, and there's like buttons below.
Yeah.
That like it didn't, there's no way a touch screen was in there. And then one of Brandon's cast member friends, she was like, "You're lucky your picture's printed, because when it's so hot, the ink just doesn't work."
Oh my God, that's crazy. I was going to say, no, like I wish that there were more photo booths, because I think that's like a really cool, fun activity. I guess they want you to buy photo pass and stuff like that. But I still think that there's something like kind of kitschy and fun about like the little strip of 4 photos. But if I didn't even think about the heat factoring in and just preventing them from printing, but that makes a ton of sense.
Well, and this is not that this photo booth will be there for long, but a small qualm that I have, you pay $7 for like 3 strips of the photos. And then like it has you like connect your ticket kind of like to PhotoPass. And you would assume that those would be free because you paid $7 for them. If you don't have like PhotoPass, you don't get the pictures.
Watermark.
They have like the watermark all over them.
That's
crazy stuff.
Yeah, that is crazy.
But on Dino Land, I think we're all kind of sad to see it go just because of Dinosaur. But I don't know that I'm sad to see Dino Land in general go. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I feel like that it kind of has a vibe of like, I don't think that I've ever noticed that they just like play like regular music there and stuff. Like it's very, I think that it fits what they wanted it to be, but I don't really know if the execution was fully done right. And I think that's kind of why that it failed. And I think that Tommy's like before on podcast has said that like maybe they just didn't like execute it perfectly well. And that's why it's not succeeding. But I've talked to people who like don't think that it's leaving, and it's like I think that it's like inevitably gone. Like it's already gone. There's no way that they're going to keep Dinoland.
Well, they took out a ride and have like they have. It's not like they've started replacing it. They just like took it down and left a big empty lot, which I don't think bodes well for the longevity of the land.
Yeah, I think the kind of carnival area of Dinoland itself is kind of a fun idea, like on paper. But I just, like Brent said, I don't think the execution is there. I just think it lacks energy almost. Like it doesn't have the same kind of kineticism that other parks of Animal Kingdom specifically, but as well as other sort of places throughout Walt Disney World, where it all just feels kind of very static and not very exciting. And I don't know if it's a product of it just not having the sort of crowds there. So there's like no need to kind of keep up with it. But that part really does fall flat. I will be sad if an eventual kind of retheme or demolition or whatever does kind of encapsulate like it in its entirety, because I think Restaurantosaurus Rex and that whole kind of area is a fun concept that's executed a lot better. But I get, since it's kind of abridged to Chester and Hester's, I think it's probably going to be all together. But it seems inevitable to me that it gets a complete overhaul, because they haven't kept up maintenance on Dinosaur. Like Haley said, they removed a ride in its entirety. So I really don't see the kind of value of them leaving it out there if they're not kind of already trying to keep it up to pace. Like, are they just going to let it dilapidate? I don't think so.
No. And it's a huge chunk of Animal Kingdom. That's what like Brandon and I, when we were on like our Imagineering thing, like we like pulled up the map and we looked at like, because they have those walls that have always been there when you get back behind it, like near Chester and Hester's, over near where, what was it? Primeval Whirl? What was there?
Yeah. Primeval Whirl.
Triceratops Spin.
And Triceratops
So like
Spin.
back over where that was, behind it is just green. It's not like cast parking. There's not really. So it seems like there's a lot of room for expansion. But at the same time, I know that Animal Kingdom has different regulations because it is like a conservatory kind of, like it's like animal habitat. So I don't know if they have to keep X amount of the grounds like green and they can't just like kind of demolish and build. But there has been some speculation about what's going there. So we were talking about that. And I don't know that I'm super on board with what they decided for there. So right now they're doing the Tropical Americas is like what's in the talks. So that would be Encanto and then Indiana Jones replacing, which is just a direct pull from Disneyland, replacing Dinosaur.
Yeah, which for what it's worth, the one in Disneyland is an exact pull from Dinosaur. Like they're just identical rides. It's the same track. It's the same vehicle.
It's just the theming is different. But like the ride won't. It's kind of like a Splash Mountain to Tiana's where the ride doesn't change. It's just the overlay will change.
Exactly.
But I think that I'm the most disappointed because I think that there's so much you could do with that ride track that isn't in the continental US. Like I think that there's so much happening at other parks that we can't get to really. Like in Asia, there's like a ton of stuff that's being built over there. And that's not like a realistic goal that like people going to Disney World are way more capable, I think, of going to Disneyland than most of the time going over to Shanghai or Tokyo. And so I am disappointed that there's going to be 2 more of the exact same rides in the US, like on both coasts.
Yeah, I think I look at it in 2 ways. I guess Indiana Jones specifically, because the Encanto piece makes sense to me. It's kind of just an excuse to throw in a very popular intellectual property, which has kind of been their move recently. And I kind of get that. And I'm a little bit more open to that because I think that there's a greater degree of freedom where it can just be kind of loosely Encanto themed or have, the casita or whatever, and then just be animal focused off the back of that. But Indiana Jones feels to me kind of at odds with itself because from a cost cutting measure, it makes sense. And that's kind of unfortunately been a lot of sort of instances we've seen over the past 5 to 10 years is it's kind of pretty clearly cost cutting or revenue driven. But at the same time, Indiana Jones is not like an intellectual property that kids specifically are interested in, right?
They is bringing in any money at all,
right? They pumped $250 million into a recent Indiana Jones movie, trying to maybe revitalize that brand, and it just didn't do well. People just are uninterested. And on top of that, it's completely hinging on one actor. There's no love for kind of the greater Indiana Jones cinematic universe. So while I get, if they're looking at it, well, we already have kind of the infrastructure and the layout, and we don't need to dedicate engineering or imagineering sort of resources to developing something brand new or even kind of the trappings of it, just kind of copying and pasting. But at the same time, does it make sense to put a little bit more effort in on the front end? And even it's really just set decoration, right? Because the ride vehicle, I would expect to stay the same to get a property in there that people actually care about nowadays.
Yeah, I just think that when you kind of look at this, I feel like it just, to me, I guess that the tropical Americas thing is trying to fit with the other stuff like Asia, Africa, and different parts of the world. But I think to me, Animal Kingdom being about animals and conservation and habitats and those kind of things. Because when I think of Pandora is not a super animal focused place. There are things that are made up a banshee and stuff, but that area is more about conservation and the beauty of Pandora. And I think in this episode for us kind of talking about our thoughts, I just think that Zootopia is such a seamless fit. And I've seen stuff on the internet because I did research for this before, and people's comments were all, but Zootopia is talking animals and it's talking animals that walk on two legs. And I was like, newsflash, Lion King, talking animals, Avatar, talking aliens, Bugs Life, talking bugs.
Finding Nemo.
Yeah. Everything at Animal Kingdom.
Lion King's just Hamlet. Yeah.
Exactly. Everything that's a Disney animal property, talk, because that's what the Disney animated movies are. Yeah. And I think that Zootopia being this place where prey and predators can live together, there's different biomes, the tundra and all those things. I think that would fit so well. And let's just be honest, overseas, it just looks awesome. It's amazing. I looked up videos of it. You can get your own ID card to say that you're part of a certain biome. You can eat a bunch of the food, see the animals walking around, and the car chase attraction with Nick and Judy would fit so seamlessly. Even if you had to rejig Dinosaur a little bit, I think that would fit so well there. And then it would leave you room to do something different, maybe another attraction or a show where one of the animals can talk about stuff or something. I don't know, kind of a Turtle Talk vibe, but with Zootopia. I just think that that's such a seamless fit. And people who want Encanto, which I'm with you, Tommy, that it's a big thing that would be great. I just don't know if it fits Animal Kingdom because that movie has one character that's animal centric. And if you're going to do Encanto, to me, that would be an Epcot thing. And maybe we can touch on some different parks later. But this whole Dino Land expansion for me, I just think Zootopia was seamless. It's made $1 billion. You're doing a sequel. People overseas love it. And then people over here can experience it, like you said, Haley, who probably in their lifetime aren't going to get to go over to Shanghai, or Hong Kong or those overseas parks to see what they have over there. I just think it would have been perfect.
And I just don't, and maybe I'm alone here. I don't think there's enough oomph behind Encanto to have an entire land the size of Dino Land.
Well, and that's kind of where I was thinking. I wonder if there is kind of a non-attraction focused, not having the attractions be kind of the primary focus of the idea behind the retheme kind of concept out there. Because I think I could see it being more successful if the overhaul is to get the South America kind of vibes and make it lush and tropical and have other activities and other restaurants and maybe some exhibits. That's where the animals are. They're in exhibits, and then kind of use the attractions to supplement, which is maybe why they're leaning on intellectual property that might not make as much sense. And in kind of that regard, I could see it being successful. But if the idea is to open up big hitter attractions, I am in agreement with both of you where the kind of what's been laid out or leaked or rumored or whatever doesn't make a ton of sense. But I just kind of wonder if there's perhaps a bigger picture, and maybe we don't like that either as much. But I wonder if there is kind of a bigger picture where no, you see the big focus will be this really cool show, and sort of complemented by this great restaurant, and the attractions are kind of stuff to do while you're over there, opposed to being this is why you come to the South America portion, like how the rides are why you go to Pandora, because there's not a ton to do outside of those two attractions.
But I think that's a mistake. Like if that's what they're doing, I think, and you can't lose 4 attractions in Animal Kingdom and not make up for them, because there's like, it's tough to be a bug has to be one of the top 5 attractions at Animal Kingdom, because there just isn't anything else. Like there's, I don't know. And I think, and like this is, I think, going to get like an overplayed topic. Disney's got to look at Epic Universe and look at what they're doing and wake up a little bit, because I think that you can't put something that's like halfway, like half baked into where like all of the Dino Land is right now and be like, look, something new. Like the same way that like when Brandon and I were kind of jumping parks here now, but when Brandon and I were walking around Epcot and it's like announced that like Epcot is finished, it feels totally unfinished. Like the fact that we had walls around Epcot since 2019, what I walked into when I went to Epcot was so underwhelming. And like I sound like the ultimate Disney hater, and I'm not. Obviously, I just spent a bunch of money to just walk around.
Tough love.
We're Disney fans. We got to be
passionate,
real.
They have to get it together. Like this has to be done right, or it's like I think they're in trouble. Because even I was thinking about like the comparison from West Coast to East Coast, like bringing things directly. Universal had the opportunity to just bring exactly what they have in Super Mario Land, in Nintendo Land in the West Coast, and bring it here and put just copy and paste, and they didn't. No, they added different things. There's a whole new ride that sounds amazing that like people who live in LA and can go and get on, like go to the Nintendo Land all the time, will come to the East Coast because it has the new ride.
Yeah, but I think it's worth noting that new Donkey Kong coaster is really the only, at least in my opinion, like new groundbreaking attraction, right? All the other lands are a little bit more straightforward. Like,
but the other lands, there's 4 other lands. I get it's a whole new park.
Right. But I think that's why it's important to maybe not necessarily just be like, well, what do the attractions look like, and look at it more holistically.
But nobody cares. Like I hate to be like that, but like I'm not using a day in Animal Kingdom to go look at a habitat attraction. Like I'm just like nobody's going to Animal Kingdom to go on like the Maharaja Jungle Trek. Like nobody, that's not why they're showing up. They're showing up to go on the safari. They're showing up to go on both Pandora rides. They were showing up to go on Dinosaur, Everest. They're not showing up to go look like, oh, these are Antonio's friends, but they're real animals. You should look at them. Like walk through and look at this museum. Nobody's going to Animal Kingdom for that.
Yeah,
they're going for the IP at this point.
Nobody's going to Animal Kingdom as is.
That's the thing. Park, you got to get people in the door.
Like, and this is my thing on it, because I feel like that we're in our little own Disney fandom space where we're like, if it kind of stinks, rip it out. But I think what happens on the internet, like a little bit, is people will say that Zootopia is a bad fit, like theming wise, but then go like, I love Indiana Jones at Disneyland, so I'm stoked that it's coming to Disney World. But it's like we can't though have that like where you'll overlook the bad theming for a bad overlook the bad theming for a good attraction that you like. I think that they need to come like, and I've said this to Heidi before, like it doesn't have to be Guardians or Flight of Passage level stuff, but it's got to be stuff that's going to keep people at the parks for the whole day. Because Animal Kingdom is one of those that if you go like in the afternoon, there's nobody there and you can do a bunch of the stuff without people being there. And I just think that you need something. So like if it was me, I would do Zootopia there. I would stick that there. It would be so vibrant and bright. Kids would absolutely love it. And then if you're going to do the Tree of Life, which was talked about now doing Zootopia, I don't really know what I would put there. I think that you could maybe do something else. I don't know if it's like
there.
I was going to say,
something like
Antonio's room in the Tree of Life, because it's filled with animals.
Yeah. I just think that it's got to be that. Like if we're going to say Animal Kingdom needs to be completed and we need to have some stuff, I would do Zootopia there.
I agree.
And then something, like that there. And then there was rumors when I looked online of like an Africa expansion or a Pandora expansion. I wouldn't expand Pandora if I was Disney. I think that Pandora is fine with those 2 rides. I would give maybe potentially like another, like if you were to expand any of the other lands, I would do Africa and do like a Lion King proper something like potentially that's maybe like a dark ride, because Animal Kingdom doesn't really have those. And when I looked online, people talked about like bringing over like the Shanghai or like overseas pirates vibe with like the big screens around and doing like big set pieces, which I don't know if that would work, but I just think like if it is right now only Dino Land and the Tree of Life, I would do Zootopia like right away without even thinking about it. It's popular. There's a sequel. People love it. And it's something different. I'm all team right now, like after like mine and Haley's conversation of like keeping Disneyland and Disney World kind of separate, because you can go to them because they're in the same country. I feel like it is more realistic than going overseas, and people love stuff overseas. Like all of us, like West Coast Disney fans, like want the overseas stuff so bad, the merch, the rides, like the vibe. So I think if you brought something over, I think that it would do very, very well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that even if they split it and had like, it's a huge area, I think you could potentially do Zootopia and Encanto. But for me, when I think about Encanto, there's one ride. Yep. There you build Casita, and it's like kind of like a haunted mansion vibe where you go from room to room in like an omni-moving vehicle, and that's like what you get. I don't know, like you can't make a ride about Louisa unless it's just like flying carpets, but they're donkeys. Like I don't know what you would make. Like I don't think there's enough stuff behind each character. Like it is kind of like a more sentimental movie, I think. And so I don't think it has the same like depth of characters and events happening in the movie that you can make an entire land that big and it be the center. And I think that that's why they're calling it Tropical Americas, like you said.
Right.
But, and like, I don't want to sit here and harp on this all day, but I feel very strongly that Brandon's correct and Zootopia would be the perfect fit. I think there's so many different restaurants you can do with it. There's, like you said, like there's all of the different habitats. Like I feel like you could make even an expansion of what's happening overseas. There's enough space to do it really well in Dinoland.
I was going to say, the draw overseas, right, isn't a particular attraction, right? The attraction is just like a slow car ride. It's the cityscape, which is why, I to clarify, I definitely don't love the Tropical Americas. I'm going to bat for it a little bit just to kind of not necessarily play devil's advocate, but kind of see where they might be going with the kind of the rumor. But I think more generally speaking, I just think that kind of they have to nail the land, which is what people like about what Universal is doing with like Harry Potter and Super Mario, is that they nail the land, not necessarily one attraction, because like we love Cosmic Rewind, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's like a good reason to go there. But I think if you don't have any interest in eating and drinking around the world, Epcot is one of those half-day parks where you show up, you ride Soarin', you do your Cosmic Rewind, Lightning Lane or whatever, and then you leave. Yeah. So I do think that it has to be not necessarily just like a cool attraction where they really have to stick the landing on the land itself. But yeah, I mean, I think if I could go to the grocery store and pick a land out for the replacement, it would probably be a Zootopia Cityscape. But definitely, I don't know. I think that a cool execution of like a tropical South America would be awesome, but I definitely get that, maybe it just doesn't have pop.
Yeah. And I think that like you kind of went over to Epcot. If they can do what they did into Journey into Water with Moana, if they can nail that and they can bring that execution, I agree. But like Orlando's like kind of tropical America anyway. Like there's like palm trees, there's foliage, like there's animals.
It's close enough.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like obviously there will be like bigger, brighter, more extravagant like plant life. But like it's not like we're in like, I don't know, like Tennessee, and then you're bringing like the tropical, you know what I mean? The tropical vibe there. I think it'll feel very similar to when you're just like kind of out and about.
Sure.
Yeah. But I just look at it like, there's just, I think that Disney sets a bar. Like Galaxy's Edge and Pandora set a bar. And when
Toy Story Land.
Yeah. Like, and if you don't kind of reach that bar, like, or come close, then it's underwhelming. Like a Tron, people like just don't love Tron the same way that maybe they thought that they would. I think there's just got to be things that you set, like you kind of come close or hit that bar. And I think that having like something that's like a big, like you said, Tommy, like the vibe and like the land being like a focus, I think if you did like a property that people like, then I think that would work and you could nail that, and hopefully they will. And maybe we'll eat our words at D23 and they're going to show us the tropical Americas and it's going to be like, this looks incredible. Who knows? But I just think if this is our episode of our things that we would do, I would use Utopia without even thinking twice about it. That would be my choice.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm going to hop us over parks. So the next park that Brandon and I did our little Imagineering bout at, where we had a lot of opinions, was Hollywood Studios. So we're going to hop over to Hollywood Studios, and there's a lot, because it's such a crowded park. Like, it feels very busy all the time. The waits are usually pretty long, but it probably pound for pound has the best attractions.
Yeah.
The most attractions for probably our group to go on,
our demographic.
But there's so much wasted space there where it doesn't feel like you have, like, Disney doesn't have like the luxury to have wasted space at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
So Brandon and I, the first place that we Brandon like took me back into it, and we were like literally like, get it out of here, pull this out, rip this out, demolish this, turn this into that, is Launch Bay. Star Wars Launch Bay is just the largest waste of space at Disney World.
Well, and I didn't know if I was going crazy, because I feel like that sometimes I'm like I'm a hater of stuff and I'm just like, get it out of here. But like, I walked back there to meet Chewbacca, and I was like, it's cool how you can meet him, but he's roaming around Galaxy's Edge when he's not spending time in Launch Bay. When he doesn't want to be in there, he's over there. But there's just so much space. There's like a museum. There used to be like a little theater that you could go in. Now they don't use it for that. There's like tons of space, just like murals on the walls, and it goes pretty far deep in, and it's very wide, and it's just this massive building, but also like massive just like walkways everywhere to random things. And I took Haley and I said, like, this is crazy. You just have to come see what's back here, because we had thought about doing this episode, and it's like, this would be fun to see. And I just think that there is that whole like animation courtyard after like the last little Disney Junior show at 4:55, dead. Nobody back there.
And like, even the Disney Junior meet and greets, it's not like they're pulling crowds.
No.
Like, that's like, oh, cool, there's no line to meet Doc McStuffins. Let's go ahead. Yeah. And so it's not pulling anyone away. But I've had opinions on Launch Bay for a long time, and I feel like that's where they should have put Mickey and Minnie's.
Right.
And then they could have left Disney Junior over there, because it fits. Like, you have like, it's the same vibe. Like you can meet, like, even in Disneyland, they have like all the houses still that they took away from us here.
Yeah.
But that vibe fits the same vibe as Doc McStuffins or Vampirina. Like, it fits. So you could have left the little meet and greets, and you could have had the queue that Disneyland now has, instead of just popping it in the Chinese theater and calling it a day. Like, that is another thing that I feel like they're like, where can we save some money and cut some corners and like cut some costs? And they're like, oh, well, we can't have Great Movie Ride anymore, which I am sad about, but I understand why. But they didn't do anything else. Like, all they did was they took and they re-themed with like little LED screens to put like Potato Land and like different episodes from the shorts. And then they just plopped the ride in, which is a shame, because it's a great ride, but the outside doesn't fit at all.
Yeah, I think Hollywood Studios, and this is something that we used to love Hollywood Studios a ton, and I think I was a little bit blind to this, but it's become something more and more apparent. It just is going through like a really, really severe identity crisis, which makes sense, right? I think the premise of Hollywood Studios, like, it was a direct response to Universal, but the idea of kind of a live working studio theme park became defunct and irrelevant very quickly, and have, like, ever since, they've kind of just turned Hollywood Studios into a little bit of a dumping ground. They're dumping good stuff, right? Like, I think kind of in a vacuum, Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge and, even Mickey and Minnie's, like, they're all good sort of attractions and lands and all that, but just there is no cohesiveness. And I think a lot of it is due to they just don't know what direction to take it. And I almost wish that it was something where they would just really kind of carve out different areas like you're talking about with Launch Bay and just say like, this is what we're doing here, this is what we're doing here, and call it something else, like fully rebrand it. I don't know if
you already did rebrand
right,
it. Like you've done it once, do it again.
It was like colloquially known as MGM Studios or MGM for the longest time, right? And now they've kind of officially and successfully pivoted to just being Hollywood Studios. I think they could pivot it again and call it something similar but slightly different, and just really segment it up and kind of go all in, because now it's just become, you know,
piecemeal.
There's a handful of attractions that you want to do, and then the rest of your time at that park is just walking across the park to those different attractions, right? You're just walking from Tower of Terror to Rise of the Resistance, and then back to Mickey and Minnie's, and then, you know, maybe you stop at Baseline and then you ride Slinky and then you leave. Like there's nothing to do like in the in between, which I think is a lot of wasted.
That path that
space.
you're saying, if you're walking from Tower of Terror across to go to like Tatooine Traders, if you're walking across to go to, what's the ride I can't go on?
Star Tours.
Star Tours. There's nothing there. It is so much big open space, and at least everyone was a hater, but at least the hat was something to look at. I love that hat. It's like the only thing I'm nostalgic for.
That stinks, baby.
Get that hat out of here. It's the same thing now. There's just more room for traffic.
Yeah, they need to bring back the High School Musical dance shows that they used to do.
But like even they used to have for a while, they had the Star Wars show in there, and now it's just nothing. Like nothing happens in that area. It's just a huge waste of space.
Yeah, I think the Star Wars show with the kids is like the perfect example of something that was
where
great.
They had the Jedi train.
Yeah, of like perfect, like beautiful. Atmospheric, something to do. Like families loved it. It ate up crowds, and they just
kids loved
it. Got rid of it because the sort of performing cast members, like the people who actually have to put on a show, are more expensive than, you know, the ones that scan you through to go to Star Tours. So
then Brandon.
Than me. I'm cheap over here. I made a whole list though for this one because this is my favorite park, but I feel like that it does have a lot. Like I think that there are a lot of hidden stuff, like the Frozen sing along. Love it, do it all the time. Fantasmic, such a good show. But this park to me, like if I ran the parks, this would be like my what Bob has bought park, like all the acquired things that we've bought. Because that's what Hollywood is. Hollywood is people buy different properties and then they have new acquired IP. And to me, that's your Star Wars, your Pixar, and then maybe some Marvel stuff.
Even
and I didn't bring this up earlier.
ABC's there.
I didn't bring this up earlier, but like I would want to have Wakanda and Animal Kingdom. That's like a side note. I think that would fit great if you could be Black Panther. But sticking on this one, I would take Animation Courtyard, and I know that they're bringing that whole new Little Mermaid show in, which is fine for people who love that, and it's cool puppets. Animation Courtyard would be Pixar Place or something. For me, the Disney Junior show is a Pixar Pal show. It can still be a little kid rave, but it can be Pixar characters. Joy and Sadness, The Incredibles, like whoever. And kids will still like it because it's still characters and a dance party. And I'm going to stretch this all the way down to Rock and Roller Coaster because people like Rock and Roller Coaster, not because it's Aerosmith, but because it's a high-speed roller coaster. Kids don't like it because they love Aerosmith and they want to listen to their music. It's that they like that it's a roller coaster. And that's just a fact. So I would rip all that up and I would make it something else, which this has been rumored for years, like a Mike and Sully with like all of the doors and stuff. It's dark. You could have some doors there, have Mike and Sully, and that's your big thing there that you leave. And then you put something else there, like Launch Bay, Little Mermaid, tons of space there, and then it connects Pixar Place and Toy Story Land all together. There's your Pixar area. That would be like
that area back there, like where they built in like the Roundup restaurant. It has to just connect over there. Like there's like Waltz.
You go
whatever
parallel to Sunset, just kind of behind Sunset would be just like
you just build right through. All it is that looks back there is trees. I think that's a brilliant idea.
I just think that with this park, like we've said, because it is my favorite, there's lots of big heavy hitting areas, but then there's just like dead places like Muppet Courtyard. Like I'm so sorry, Muppet fans. It's a ghost town back there also. And there's so much space. There's Mama Melrose, Pizza Rizzo. There's two stores that aren't open.
They're not open anymore. And they were cool stores. Like they were really well themed. And like when they were open and like it was popping back there before Galaxy's Edge existed. But now it's a super highway into Galaxy's Edge. They're like looking to go to the cooler place. And like nobody likes Pizza Rizzo. Like that's just like kind of universally not loved.
Not only do people not like Pizzerizzo, people notoriously hate Pizzerizzo.
Which I don't think it's as bad as everyone says
by the internet.
But like Brandon said, like that area, like I honestly forget that it exists. Like I forget that you can even go back and do anything except for get on that Muppets ride or like get mid pasta,
which is like almost borderline unacceptable from a Disney park. I feel like to have areas that are like totally unused feels like just borderline mismanagement of the parks, right? Like it's valuable real estate
and neglect.
And you're not taking any of our money in that area. Like get it together.
And I just want to say that like in my plans here that I'm saying, like I get like this is my whole thing with this. Disney has to take into account the mass audience, not the Disney park fans necessarily who like love the Muppets or those Muppet fans who are going to riot if they get rid of Muppets. I get it, but the mass market of people don't necessarily love Muppet Vision and Pizzerizzo and that area because nobody goes there really. So like to me, there's little pockets that I would change, and that whole animation courtyard being Pixar, people love Pixar. Like that whole area where you can meet the characters is always popping. People walk in there. It's awesome. And I would just move that there and have that kind of connect there. And then I also just think that if we do Indiana Jones at like Animal Kingdom, it is blasphemous that there'll be 2 Indiana Jones attractions when other movies that should have something don't have anything. When we have this big show and this ride, I just think it's not a valuable enough brand. So I would get rid of that and put something else there. But I know that they're hesitant on those things because they're kind of like opening day or like older things. But there's just not like the love and nostalgia for those things like that or the Beauty and the Beast show that people have for like Small World and stuff. It's not the same level of people care. And of course, if you rip stuff up, like if you got rid of Rock and Roller Coaster, people would get upset. But if you kept it the same ride and made it Mike and Sully or something else, or like people aren't going to like honestly care that bad because the whole park is just a mishmash of stuff. So I feel like that if you have a little bit more coherent stuff of like you're obviously not going to turn it into what we've acquired. That's so silly. But this is what Hollywood is there's different movies. You can acquire things and create new stuff. And I just think maybe kind of leaning into that direction of like your popular IPs live here and things that maybe don't like to me, Pixar doesn't fit really anywhere else, whereas it would fit here. And it's a very valuable, popular brand. It doesn't really fit in like other parks unless they're specific, like a Ratatouille and a Nemo that fit with Epcot because of like the country or the seas. I just think there are movies like Inside Out, Incredibles, Monsters Inc. that don't really fit anywhere else.
Well, and I think the 3 of us share the sentiment that like nostalgia can't be your driving factor of like not innovating.
Yeah.
And I don't know that a lot of like I think some Disney adults don't agree with us there.
For sure.
Even like people that we're like friends with, I don't think agree with us there. I think that some people live for the nostalgia, but just let the floodgates open. Like you already did Country Bears, you already did Splash Mountain. No one like the whole Muppets land. Like I could even get kind of leaving Muppet Vision if you're going to put some more animated stuff back there. But there's no reason that it's a whole land other than they're like, oh, people get upset. Well, we're more upset that there's nothing to do there. Like that I can go to Hollywood Studios and not get everything done in a day because it's so busy because there's nothing drawing crowds away.
Yeah, I think it has to be. Yeah, I would definitely agree that we can't be sort of chained to existing rides just because, like, people like them. But at the same time, I definitely think that, if they do decide to move in a way that they start replacing stuff, it has to be kind of all in, because I think that like kind of the worst possible scenario, right, is that they, maybe they knock down all of Muppets Town and then they replace it with something lackluster, right? Like they replace it with another dance party or something, inexpensive, something like what is it? Communicore Hall, like something that's just like totally barren of any personality and effort. And kind of that spark, that magic. So I think that it's almost like be careful what you wish for, because at the end of the day, I'd rather have Muppets Vision 3D than something totally devoid of any personality. But I don't know. It feels like, in my opinion, that they kind of have no choice but to kind of revert to that mean, especially if they're going to be continuing some of the more revenue based decisions, like kind of the stuff that they're doing with the Genie Plus rebrand. What is it now? Just Lightning Lane altogether.
Yeah, I don't know
or they still call it Genie Plus.
Like multi-lane and single or whatever, multi-lane pass or whatever.
Right. But so if they're going to do that, it has to show up, and it's the only like arm of the company altogether that's making any money. So they need to I think they need to demonstrate some reinvestment, because it's something that they're obviously leaning on, and I think that they've kind of rested on their laurels because it does just print money.
Because there's 4 parks and 2 water parks if they had it like that, and people weren't choosing Universal over Disney, and now I don't know if that's the case.
But they did the same thing with their kind of theatrical releases, and they felt the ramifications, right? They trained audiences to go to Disney Plus to try and drive Disney Plus subscriptions, and they paid for it in the box office, and now they've had to kind of revert back and lean on intellectual property, but also just sink money into getting money at the box office. So I think a similar correction is due, so that you aren't in a space where the parks lose their profitability and then it's a scramble to get stuff back out.
Well, and I think that sometimes it's overlooked, but I think that Hollywood Studios is maybe the best theme. It's not cohesive, but it has the most serious theming in each of the lands.
I agree.
When you walk into Fantasyland, it's not that much of it. It is because of the rides, but it's not you don't feel different than when you were in Tomorrowland. Right. There's none of that. You're leaving one and going to the other. It's I think Adventureland does it pretty well just because of all the foliage. But other than that, I think that the places that are done well in Hollywood Studios are done super well. And if they had just kept that cohesion, the park would be amazing. I think that it would still be our favorite park, but I think that they, like you said, I really like being in Galaxy's Edge, and I don't do anything in Galaxy's Edge when I go anymore because I'm not waiting for the rides. I just like being in it. It's way hotter than most of the other areas, but it doesn't matter because it's just pleasant to be around, and you really do feel like you're immersed. And it's the same thing with Toy Story. It's not even that big of an area. It's very short.
Yeah, but they've executed it well.
Right. And I think that they just have to I don't know what happened that they're just okay, it doesn't really matter. Just plop, 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 plop. They get anything, they design anything new, and they're throw in Hollywood Studios. Where? Doesn't matter. Just find a place for it.
Well, because I was gonna say in terms of if you guys had to pick, would it be getting rid of Launch Bay? Would it be something else? I just think what would you guys want to add? Because I don't know if my Pixar idea is a great idea, but just anything a little bit different I think would be welcome there to maybe fix some of that, like you're saying, Haley, but make it the same level. Because I think if you think of the 3 areas that are the best themed, it's Pandora, Toy Story, and Galaxy's Edge. Those are the 3
because it's IP, and that's what you have to lean into.
Yeah
And I think even Galaxy's Edge probably under-delivered based on what the original concept was, and I still think it's successful and well executed.
Yeah.
But to me, I think just making it so that there's stuff everywhere you look is kind of what it should be. At least it feels to me like what it should be, because right now you have the sort of sunset area, and you have Tower of Terror, and you have all that, and then it's just everything else is hidden in the back. It almost feels right? It almost feels like you have to walk around Mickey and Minnie's where there's really not much going on to get to the rest of the good stuff, where that's crazy to me. You should be constantly being drawn in by things, while you're on your way to your next sort of thing on your calendar, on your schedule. But that's not the case, right? The entire sides is kind of just been stripped down and barren. And I don't even remember what's the name of that restaurant over by Star Tours, good restaurant.
Backlot Express.
Yeah, good restaurant. Always totally empty because there's just no reason to be over there ever. I don't think I've ever seen that much of a line there, because it's just, why is anybody over there?
Well, and I think it's very clear that this was not a Walt design park, because his whole thing was the hub. That was Disney World. Disneyland is kind of the same way, where you can stand here and get to anywhere you want to go, and you know where you want to go. I think that Hollywood Studios is really hard to navigate if you're not a Disney person. If you don't go to the parks often, I think it's really hard to know where to go, what to do, the order of things. It doesn't really it is once you go in near Toy Story, you're stuck in this loop, and you don't really know where it's bringing you. And you hit Toy Story Land, you hit Galaxy's Edge, and then you're well, what's this land? And it's oh, it's nothing. It's Muppets, but it's also Baseline is there, and
Grand
also
Avenue.
right there is Backlot Express, and then there's also
Star Tours is right there. Like,
yeah.
And you can
Indiana
do
Jones. Like, it's just like such a like Brandon said, like a mishmash of things.
And
like,
if you're going to keep it a mismatch, at least have it cohesive areas mishmash together instead of just an open space. Which is like what you said with Pixar. I think that makes a ton of sense. And like you get to have the Pixar characters running around, and it can be a free for all, right? Like you can have what's his name, like Mike bumping into Anger or whatever, and that can be a lot of fun
because they all live in the same universe.
But have just like a full kind of Pixar, even make it like a Ralph Breaks the Internet thing, where like, this is just
even
sort of like a
Pixar
thing. Like this is the Pixar area, and they all live next to each other. Like it doesn't matter, right? But it just has to be kind of, there has to be stuff to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, and then I'm with you. I'm bringing back like a little stage show at the front, or like a cavalcade or something.
Yeah.
Like you know how many times I get asked at work all the time if I'm standing on a car, like is there like a parade coming through here? And it's like there's not, but people are used to like those COVID times when there was like there was Mickey on a car driving through.
It doesn't really make sense they took that away, because it's not like they took away a big parade and replaced it with cavalcades, and then the big parade was coming back. Like you just now have nothing.
Or like that whole Star Wars march with like all the characters, like I think they had like Darth Maul and like all the stormtroopers, and it's like a whole thing of like all like the bad guy. Like that's great. People would love that so much.
And not to keep harping, but Universal Orlando just added tons of floats. Though that parade is insane.
Yeah,
that parade is crazy.
Yeah, I mean they have like the mayor from Jaws, right? Like they're going so granular that they're pulling these characters, and it's all that IP. Kids, nobody under the age of like 21 knows who that is. Like, and it's just to kind of build.
But it's just something big that they'll look at no matter what.
Yeah, and it's just like it's adding something that maybe 10% of the audience appreciates, but the 10% really appreciates it, and that's what used to be.
But everybody can.
Disney and
I think that
and now it's
10% love it. 90% appreciate it, because I think that the size of them alone and like the intricacy that it has, I think is enough for like the normie, like just an everyday person who walked into like even like a 17-year-old who him and his friends are going to Universal will stop and watch that parade come through because it's so big.
Well, like, and I just want to like ask this question out there to everyone who's listening, and if you want to answer, like, please do. I just never understand this, where Disney people don't like IP, but then Universal does this whole like epic universe, and it's Nintendo, which they don't own at all. They do Harry Potter, which is Warner Brothers. They don't own that either. How to Train Your Dragon is DreamWorks, which I think they bought or they just acquired, like, or whatever. So it's all these things that's the same as Disney, but they do it and people go, this is awesome. And if Disney did a whole IP stuff, we need more like original stuff. I just don't understand the like double standard, where I think that we do hold Disney to a very high standard, but the mass market of Disney fans and Disney adults like us, I think almost hold them to like an unrealistic standard, where it's like I love Tiana's, I think it's great, and then people just like don't like it, and it doesn't make sense to me. So I just think this whole like expo, like, to me seems like a turning point in Disney history, where this is going to be kind of like a little bit of a make or break, which like not actually, but it just kind of feels that way to me, and it kind of like gives me anxiety a little bit when I think about it.
I also don't really understand, because all of the IP was original. Like, it's not like they're just taking, like, we're no longer in the princess era where we're taking Hans Christian Andersen or whoever, and we're just like repurposing his stories to not be totally horrific at the end and making them like terrifying. Really nice.
Yeah.
Like all of this now, before it became Disney IP, it's only Disney IP because they created it. Like, it is all original ideas. Like, every movie that they've made, every Pixar movie that comes out, like, everyone is an original idea. Why would they create something from scratch that nobody has any emotional attachment to and put it in a park, instead of taking something that they did create, it was original, and now it's IP because they made it, and put that you have an emotional attachment to in the parks?
Yeah, I think that's actually like a really interesting point that I've never considered, is that like when you're creating a park in the 70s and 80s, you don't have the additional 60 years worth of movies and characters and stuff like that to lean on. So I definitely think there's a balance to strike where you can use the like, I mean, kind of like Cosmic Rewind, right? Like Guardians of the Galaxy gets you in the door and then you ride it and you're like, oh, this is groundbreaking. Like this is something brand new. And I think even Tiana's will serve a similar purpose.
But people are hating
in the long run. Yeah. But I mean, people are going to hate. I think that it's important for, the company, but also I think, reasonably minded individuals to not pay too much attention to that, because I think
that's a problem. There's not a lot of reasonably minded individuals, at least who are sharing their opinion.
Fellow squad
even
members,
sometimes
all the listeners are reasonably minded.
Yeah,
well,
you're all reasonable. Haley's
but I think that like some of like the people who are talking the loudest aren't generally reasonably minded.
And I think that there's been a shift away from taking those opinions overweighted kind of in general, because it used to be a big thing with, I mean, even like to tie back to what's it called, movies, which Star Wars under Disney has been a huge thing. Like the fans are completely insufferable a lot of the time, and the sequel trilogy ended up being shaped by that feedback for the worse. I think the last movie they did is the weakest one. Like it's probably the weakest project Star Wars related that Disney has put out,
but kids love it
because they were sort of accounting for that feedback. So I think that kind of sticking to a strong, and I don't know if it's present, but I think sticking to like a strong creative idea. I mean, even like they did with Tiana's, right? They had an idea for the retheme, and I think they stuck to it. And I think in the long run, I think it's going to be successful, despite the fact that people are clamoring for, outdated animatronics and a story that is not as coherent as people pretend like it is.
Tiana's is so much better. It's like happier and lighter. Like it makes you feel good when you leave, instead of being like, oh, that was a fun ride, but what in the world happened?
We're kind of all over the place in this podcast.
I know.
But people people are complaining. They're like, well, it doesn't have like a story like Splash Mountain. The story in Splash Mountain
sure does.
So bare bones. Like people act like it's this like epic story. It's like, no, like they're just kind of like chasing each other, and then you go down the thing. Like, I don't know. People can be so silly.
Well, go ahead, because I was about to take us left real quick. So go ahead, and then I'll take us left.
I just wanted to add one thing on Star Wars, because I thought this was so funny. Because last night I worked at Tatooine Traders, and a kid came up wanting to build a lightsaber. 2 kids, like a daughter and a son, and they wanted like to try to build like Rey and Kylo Ren's lightsaber. And the dad goes, "Don't you want Obi-Wan and Darth Vader?" And I was like, I thought it was so funny. And I said, like she goes, "I want Rey," and he goes, "Okay, but daddy likes Obi-Wan." And I was just thinking, this kid likes Rey and your son likes Kylo Ren. You might like Vader and Obi-Wan, but these 2 kids don't want Vader
you watched them when you were 8.
And I think that's like a perfect encapsulation of the issue that we're kind of talking about altogether, is that like he's like, "Are you sure you don't want the thing that I liked when I was 12?"
Right.
Like, no, man. Like it's a kid. They like their own stuff.
And
like,
that's why these movies
old forever.
That's why these movies are made, because when they're 8, they like Rey. Like when you were 8, you liked Obi-Wan. Let them
like Rey.
And like, even if you think the movies stink, your kids clearly like it. Like they clearly make enough money to keep it going, and they sell tons of merch. So like,
and I think some of the hesitance, especially with the parks, is that like the movie will be around forever. Like, episode 3 or the original trilogy of Star Wars, like you're going to be able to watch it pretty much forever, unless something crazy happens. Where the parks, like when it changes for good. So I get why people are, really tend to cling to things from their childhood, especially that they like enjoyed, because it's not coming back. But I think it's important to, remember that the primary audience for this specifically is children, right? And they need to keep things moving forward, or else the kids are just not going to be interested.
Well, I'll make it lead into my next point. Taking us way left. If I wasn't hating already, this is kind of where I'm really getting into it. So I was being a little mild.
Yeah, anybody left is
seriously. If you're here, you're in for a treat. Communicore Hall is, like the other places we've talked about, are definitely wastes of space, but they're old wastes of space. They used to actually have things going on. There's things to do. Like it just kind of didn't evolve. This is something that they put so much time and money into, and it is an airport waiting area. There is nothing going on. It doesn't bring in any revenue at all, which I can't understand for the life of me. And like Epcot, of all places, like in World Showcase, there is so many places to sit in the air conditioning. There's so many restaurants. There's so many shows that you can go to. And I understand that there isn't a ton of like places to get relief in that like main area when you walk in, but the land is giant. Connections is big. And now you've just built this hangar, this airplane hangar of nothing. Like we walked in, and it's just people working from home. Like it is. I told Brandon that this feels like it should be at Flamingo Crossing. And it feels like somewhere that you literally just go and like you do your classwork or like you take a meeting. Like,
yeah. Speaking of classwork, it's aesthetically less interesting than every single dining hall at the University of Alabama.
Yes,
like it
is
so
awful.
boring.
I just like, I don't understand. And this is where like Brandon and I were kind of talking that like, they're delusional. Like for them to be like, yes, people are going to love this. Like we've had walls up for so long that like, this is going to be the payout. And like, it's a shame because everything else they did there, the whole outside area is amazing. Like that little sitting area that they built in and they put like little chargers in the outside doors, like, or in the outside tables, like where the new Walt statue is and like where the little, like, what is it? Encanto show. What's there?
Yeah.
That part is great. Communicore Hall, I like can't stress it enough. It's like the worst thing I've ever walked into. Brandon and I walked in. He was like, I'm so excited for you to see it because it's horrible. And I like really the only reaction I've seen is like the Leffersons. And I feel like they kind of share like they don't really hold back the way that we don't hold back. I was expecting bad and I got worse, which is crazy. Like my bar was on the ground and I had to go subterranean. Like it was terrible.
Well, and
my face is red.
Do you think Haley likes Communicore Hall? Let us know. But people have told me that we can't judge this yet because there's no festival, and allegedly they're going to put festival stuff in there when the festivals start. I don't know if that's true. So maybe right now it's just tables and chairs because there's no festival, and maybe again they're gonna when a festival starts. Who really knows? I just think that there's a lot of things that were not executed about that. Like you said, everything like else is so good. Like the Encanto stage show, I heard it yesterday, so good. The Walt statue, awesome. Journey of Water is
amazing,
so good. And the whole vibe.
That's another thing that people were not being very nice to when it opened.
Yeah. Well, because I think people thought it was going to be like this like Moana boat adventure.
It's be a roller coaster.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a walkthrough, which is great and very Epcot and very Disney. But I just think that Epcot, to say that Epcot is complete, I think that like of any park, the Epcot fans, I think we need to wake up a little bit because there's a lot of stuff here. Like I have this, and I'm going to say this, and it's so random, and it's not on this whole topic, but like the harmonious barges being this whole talking point, and people hating them. Luminous just leaves this big thing in the water.
They're terrible. They're worse.
And nobody talks about it. There's no hate for it. There's no
because
petition.
They talked their nonsense about the harmonious barges, and then they took them away. You can't just talk about another show's barges once you like complain. Yeah. Like you made your bed and now you have to sleep in it.
Never forget what they took from us.
Seriously. So I just think that at like Epcot, I feel like that I'm very hard on Epcot because it is one of those that you have to be willing to spend money to drink and eat food. The whole collection of attractions is the worst of all four parks in terms of all of them because Guardians is the best across any park in my opinion. Yeah. But everything else is just not good.
It doesn't weigh the score enough.
Like Living with the Land, Spaceship Earth, Figment, Mission Space, like all these things are just very low bottom tier. I'm so sorry to anyone who I just offended. And then everything else like a Frozen Ratatouille are good, but not enough where it's worth an hour or 70 minutes because those wait times are high because there's nothing else there. So
even like World Showplace, like it's been shuttered for 3 years now.
That big stage.
Adjacent to like the England area. That it was a cool stage and we went in there and you would get some AC and you would buy food and drink and spend money. There's a merchandise stand and you would watch like a cool stage show or something. Like it's been shuttered for 3 years. Why? Because it's probably, too expensive to reinstall rugs and pay people to perform. I'm like,
my question to Brandon, not to you because I don't know that you know the answer, but if they're using Communicore Hall now as a place to kind of sell Orangebird merch during Flower and Garden or whatever, what are they now using? What's it called? Where they had the Epcot experience before?
Yeah, the
What's
Odyssey.
that for now?
That right now, there's a sign there because I did some investigating. There's a sign that says that it's, I don't even want to say it because it's going to be so, it's a DVC area.
You're lying.
I swear. There's a sign that says DVC.
We didn't touch on Magic Kingdom.
We'll
Do you know that they?
there, yeah.
Okay.
Oh no. Go ahead.
Do you know that they took away what's it called? The shooting.
Yeah, the shooting arcade, which is not this groundbreaking thing.
Do you know they're putting a DVC lounge there on the bottom floor of Magic Kingdom?
I did know that, yeah.
People are not joining DVC because of the lounge perks. So what are we using? Literally, like if you were buying that in Monopoly, it's the most expensive property. Like you can't pay enough for that. And we're going to put a DVC. Those people have already paid. They already have given Disney their money. I think I would feel this way too. Even if I was DVC, it's not like I'm mad because I'm hating or hating because I'm mad. Like I just am mad because it's such a waste of space.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, or like I would love to know what the numbers on DVC are and like what like the kind of initial net profit is. And I'm sure down the line they make their money back. But I would love to see, because I feel like every time there's an announcement and it's going to be a DVC lounge, like I wonder if that is like actually resulting in increased kind of like I don't know, memberships or whatever, because I can't imagine that it is. DVC feels something like it feels like if you want to be DVC, you're going to be DVC regardless of the perks, because you like showing up and, riding Small World or whatever. You know what I mean? You're just like a Disney person. You like going.
You have a set hotel price for the rest of your life.
Right.
Like that's why you get it, because you have the money to put in. But even they could put they have the little boardwalk games at DCA.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
And they make money. It's a revenue drawer.
They sucker us for
we spent literally $40, and you could put one of those games, and you're making so much money.
Yeah, the worst part is that's not even the most egregious thing to happen at Magic Kingdom the last couple weeks.
Oh my gosh. If you guys are here, you're the real ones, and you get our nitty gritty opinions, what we're actually upset about, instead of what will the general public like to hear. Taking away the fruit and Nutella waffle is an absolute travesty, and it's the biggest loss. And this is a very privileged loss to have. It's the biggest loss I've had in my life in the last year.
It's a personal affront to me. Yeah,
it is, and I
terrible.
And I tried the new one, and it's soggy. There's a little this is how they put the Nutella on. They do a little drizzle across. It's just not the same. And there's just I think this kind of harps back to the whole doing things half baked. I think if I again, we've been sitting here for an hour talking about all these things, and this is not a slander pod, I swear. But I just think that when you think of if because Disney has said that they're going to invest 17 billion, which is 17 shaman animals. I'm just kidding. It is not. It is way more shaman animatronics.
If you guys get
9 zeros,
if you guys get that, you are real ones.
Yeah, because I one day said that the shaman's $1 billion, which is crazy. But there's a lot of money there. I think at Epcot, really quick here, if this is what I'm going to do, because then we're on that, and then if we want to move to Magic, we can move. I would change some of the pavilions and make them different. This is where I'm putting Encanto, and I would take out Morocco and make that Colombia and put Encanto. Morocco has so much space. There's no attraction. The food I've never had. I'm sure that it's great.
Special table
it's
is good.
Real
it's very good.
Which is good.
That'd be the biggest loss. Yeah.
But the ones inside the pavilion are never open.
Yeah,
it's probably going to turn into a DVC lounge. Yeah,
probably. Yeah. Well, I think it might already be a lounge.
It's an annual pass lounge there. So my thing there, this is where you need a new pavilion that's something like that. And if Encanto takes place there, Colombia is perfect.
But it's hard because you have to get when they built these, they had the governments paying
which
for
is
them.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think the Colombian government is giving Walt Disney World Corporation
for sure
$1 billion to put in.
Yeah. I just think that if you look at different pavilions, I think that some of them have nothing going on. And I would do if I could do anything, I would do that. And I would put a new pavilion. I'd put Encanto there. I would give some life to the pavilions to then offset the crowds because there's no way that Ratatouille should be an hour and a half wait for Ratatouille. Yeah. It's
People
just
why don't we need? Well, I mean, all we've been doing is plucking things out of parks. Get rid of the Odyssey. It doesn't do anything. Now you have Communal Core Hall. So what do you need the Odyssey for? That can be a whole nother. You could start World Showcase there.
And what I was going to say also is we've lost this whole play pavilion that was rumored, and that was when all the walls were up. It had like The Incredibles and Wreck-It Ralph and Nick and Judy, and it was all these things of like, this is what's coming, and it was going to be almost like you were in like Ralph Breaks the Internet. It seemed like where you're
like glitched in and out or whatever
in this thing, and that was either going to be, I think, where Communicore Hall is or where the Odyssey was, and now that has just kind of been like quietly just not done. And I think that would have been great.
I meant to ask, Communicore Hall is the one, it's like adjacent to Moana Journey Through Water, because there was a, that's, I remember
it's like kind of like where like old Epcot used to have the shopping place and then the food, like kind of like big building. That's like what it is.
Because I remember seeing that building and I was like, oh, it's supposed to be the
Wreck-It
cool
Ralph in there.
Yeah.
Stinks.
But they did just quietly,
which is what it should have been. Like, I think that'd be great.
There's the Fab Five meet and greet in there.
Yeah.
But on the outside, they're in like their like space, kind of like opening day Epcot outfits, like where it was like that silver dress with like the big, like kind of like like rings, like Saturn's rings and stuff.
It's fun.
They're just in normal clothes when you go inside. Like they it's like false advertising. Like I would wait so long for the first time to meet them in those Epcot specific clothes, because it's not like a pop-up meet and greet anymore where it used to be like, oh, sometimes Goofy was outside, sometimes Minnie was outside, like right when you walked in. It is a set meet and greet. Like it is on the schedule now. You can see the wait times for it.
Yeah.
Why would you put them in these cool outfits on the outside and not just give them the outfits?
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't, it's like, those are the things where it feels half baked and it just doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah.
But so I can talk about something redeeming for them.
Ahead. Yeah.
They brought the Hush Puppies back. People rioted. Wow. The Hush Puppies are back at Columbia Harbor House.
Wow.
So if we have anything that's going to save all of this non-happenings at Disney World, maybe it'll be the Hush Puppies.
That's crazy.
Well, they're back. So they were gone for what, like a month?
There's hope for the fruit waffle.
Yeah.
I just think that this is one of those things. And again, Magic Kingdom is a hard park because I feel like there's all these rumors. And I think that the biggest rumor, if we're going to talk about like Imagineering rumors, is beyond Big Thunder Mountain.
Yeah.
And I watched a lot of videos and I kind of pulled out there to see what people were talking about. And some of the ideas that I saw like out there that kind of people had of like different sources and stuff, I was like, these just can't come true. Like, and I don't know, like,
what did you say?
If Tommy knows these, so Tommy here, we're gonna do this.
I'll give it a thumbs down, thumbs up or down.
Yeah, thumbs up or down. So Beyond Big Thunder, in one video that I watched, and this guy, shout out to him, DSNY Newscast, seems pretty plugged in. He's a cool guy. I love his videos and stuff.
Shout out.
Yeah, he was talking about stuff beyond there that'd be like a phase 1, phase 2 kind of thing, and I guess there's like a plot of land behind there. And then there's some water, but there's like another plot of land over some water. So it'd be like two different things.
Yeah, there is like a little creek, but I can't imagine it would be terribly difficult to just fill in with sand. Like
they filled all of Walt Disney World in.
Right,
it's just a big ball.
Yeah, because when you ride the train, there is like a nice little creek on the side, but it would be easily.
And I will say that I rode the train the other week, like before that I was blocked out, and there are some like markers and stuff back there and flags and things, so guarantee they're doing stuff behind there. So Coco was the thing that everybody talked about, and that was going to be right behind, he said, is the most likely. And potential rumors for attractions is like a Flight of Passage style writing on the back of a Alabrije thing.
Thumbs up. I think it's it's thematically cohesive. You get that kind of Southwest vibe.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cool attraction, and it's a very popular Pixar kind of movie.
Well, and I think if you wanted to move Pecos Bill, then you wouldn't need that Southwestern food there that now doesn't really fit over near Tiana's, and you could put like a little gumbo area and then move it now beyond Big Thunder.
Yeah. So there was that one, which I think is good, and I would add Coco somewhere, and I think obviously it seems natural to put it in like the Mexico Pavilion. There's just not room and not space to turn Grand Fiesta Tour into this extravagant Coco ride, which is what I think you need for something that people love like this,
it does need more.
Is beloved.
Yeah.
It needs more.
Yeah.
So that was that idea. Then for the phase 2, these were options that were out there, and I watched like a lot of different things. And I think these, like some of these, I'm just like, this is crazy. Zootopia.
Yeah, I mean, like I think we're all pro Zootopia, but I just don't think
that it fit in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, I don't think it fits in Magic Kingdom.
It's not magical, like at all. Like it's just like this is just like their universe and their animals.
Yeah. I just think to say that it doesn't fit at Animal Kingdom, but we'll put it at Magic Kingdom makes
right.
I mean, honestly, just throw it to Hollywood Studios because they don't think it fits anywhere else. Just put it there.
And then other things on the table that he said were cars.
I mean, people love cars. Kids love cars.
And it's
the aesthetic, it's at Hollywood Studios. Leave it at Hollywood Studios.
But I think you could keep that kind of deserty sand Southwest
Radiator
vibe
Springs.
And let it kind of flow and not where I feel like Zootopia, it's like it goes from Big Thunder Mountain to cityscape, which like feels like a really strong and not necessarily successful juxtaposition.
Well, and the way that they transition you in DCA from San Fran Tokyo now into Cars, you could do the same thing at Hollywood Studio, or I mean at Magic Kingdom, and it would fit. Yeah. Like you said, it's that like orange rock, and you could go from Big Thunder right into that.
Right, yeah, it's a similar sort of landscape, Monument Valley sort of situation.
But at the same time, we do already have a Cars Land at
That was
DCA.
my thing that I was going to say, is I think that's like one of the biggest draws of DCA is the Cars Land. So I like that better being like a
exclusive
DCA
to the West Coast.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree.
And then, of course, everybody's clamoring for the villains. And that was another thing.
I don't think that'll be it.
That people would love, I know, is a villain.
I think they'll go Coco before they go villains.
Yeah, I don't see the broad appeal. And I even have this concern with the Universal Monsters Land. I think the Universal Monsters Land is a big swing. I think it's less of a swing for Disney because it'll still be kind of joyous and fun. But I think transitioning to like, because it has to be kind of dark and stormy feeling for it to, be successful. I don't know if there is like a broader appeal, especially amongst younger audiences. Like, do they want to hang out with all the scary characters from their movies? Like, I don't know if that's.
We were at Costco yesterday, and there's a little girl, probably 3 years old, and there's like a werewolf, like just like Halloween decor, and she's petrified. Mortified, like she's screaming, crying. You can't have like a family who doesn't know what they're doing wander back and like the evil queen and Maleficent just like kind of be in their face if like that's not their vibe.
Right. Yeah. The only kind of thing that I think that Disney can maybe, which again, it's way harder in Florida. I think that maybe those characters though, like, and I've never been to Disneyland, but they're kind of like roaming around. And I think that people love like Lady Tremaine walking around and those kind of evil queen characters that are walking around. I don't know though how great like a villain's land would work, but I think Coco to me seems the best there. Coco like isn't really anywhere else, and people love Coco. And then the other thing he talked about was behind Pirates, there's room there for like a Moana thing with Adventureland fitting there.
I think that fits.
I would love to see Adventureland fleshed out a little bit more.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think it's like
there's only two things really to do.
I love walking in from the hub and you go across that bridge and you get, Sunshine Tree Terrace and even the treehouse and stuff like that. I think that feels so fun and nice, and even down through Jungle Cruise. And then once you hit Pirates, it's kind of just like pavement.
Well, and then they're adding some to like that restaurant area. They're kind of fixing that up. So if they just do like a whole revamp of that area, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I'd be game for that.
But even the stores there are like funny. Like I've never known anybody to buy like a glass figurine from Adventureland, and that's like a whole section of that. Like,
and there's like a sunglass hut there.
Yeah.
There is.
But I just think that maybe like I think in terms of the most likely, like to tie it back to D23, I think that the Dino Land and the Beyond Big Thunder were the things that they talked about the most. I feel like
I think they got zoning for them. Like I think they put in for permits.
So I think that we'll get stuff on there. Like if it was me and I was going to change stuff, because if this is our Imagineering, I'm ripping out Speedway. I can't stand the Speedway.
Gone.
I think it's so much space. I don't know what you'd put there. And people talk about
there.
People talk about not blocking the view of Tron. Honestly, like people can get to Tron if they want to walk to Tron. They can see it there, and I think that's got to go. I would do something where the Stitch meet and greet used to be and Stitch's Great Escape was. That's just like a wasted space.
I forgot that even existed. They need to put something in there.
I just think like this park also, I think people are more forgiving too because there's lots to do. But I've noticed myself there of like, there's nothing there that I feel like pulls me in where I'm like, I want to wait for that or I want to do that. And now having places like things that have like a virtual queue, like if you want to go ride Tron, you can't unless you had the one virtual queue, and then you can't go again. And I would ride it again. If I could ride it twice, I would go ride it again.
But even like you and Heidi talk about the time you had to wait like hours, and it's not worth that, even with the virtual queue.
Yeah. So I think that they just, again, I always think about like there's all these beloved characters and movies, and it's like the overseas vibe. Like what's it called? Fantasy Springs with Frozen and Peter Pan and Tangled looks unbelievable. And that to me is like a Magic Kingdom.
And they did a nice mix of like pulling in something that is nostalgic and then also using 2 newer IPs.
Yeah. And I got one for you, Tommy. This is my last kind of one. And if you guys want to touch on things you would change. I rode Small World the other week and we got stuck there for a bit. And all the boats, all we felt was crash.
Yep.
Crash. And we're all sitting there. And I said, the Tangled bathrooms are beside. This is so much space. This building's huge. Bring that Tangled boat ride overseas and put it here and make this the Tangled area.
They will never.
And they will never do it because it's Small World. But like that needs to be somewhere overseas here because Tangled can't just have a bathroom. And if you had the bathrooms with her tower and all the vibe and right next door is her lantern boat adventure, that is like so seamless and they won't ever do it. But if I was running the parks, and again, this is what I'm going to say to people out there. You may love Small World. If they brought you a high-tech animatronic Tangled boat ride with lanterns and Flynn Rider and Maximus and Pascal and Rapunzel and like a retelling of Tangled, would you say, gee, I miss Small World? I think that you would be okay.
They think that they would.
If an alien came down from space and you brought them to Walt Disney World and you rode every ride,
or just think about what ride you would put them on first.
Easily be towards the bottom of their list. They'd be like, I don't know.
No, you would go Flight of Passage, Guardians. And then you're like, oh, is this what space is like? And then like you would do everything else. You would show them the Tangled bathroom before you would put them on Small World.
And it's not even like it's the one in Disneyland is like the Mary Blair World's Fair Small World. Right. Like that's where they moved all the boats and all the animatronic stuff. This is just a recreation of that because it was something that already existed. And like, I think that it should remain. I think where it's at in Disneyland is perfect because it's kind of off the beaten path.
Well, it's its own space.
It's got its
own
space.
And it looks cool on the outside.
It looks cool on the outside. It's way too long. It's still super boring, but it's like a museum piece. And I'm fine with that. I think
even that one, they were willing to alter. They put in characters from IP, like the IP characters. They put them in there and it makes it a little bit more engaging. But I never even thought about that like, there is no real reason to keep Disney Worlds because it's not the original one.
No, it was something that like was popular because of
and I can get
1977 or whatever.
Like the people who are like, oh, I want Carousel of Progress because it's the only place you can get it now, and it was at the World's Fair. That is actually like a Walt creation.
I'm way more
before Disney World, and I probably go on them the same amount, which is almost never.
Yeah,
but I would keep that like years beyond keeping
it's a museum piece. Yeah, it's a museum piece where this is just the most engaging part about Walt Disney World's Small World is the boat launch. It's a cool staging area. It's a cool boarding area.
Yeah,
you can see it from the restaurant. Once you're on the ride, it's like totally whatever.
Yeah, but
and it's long.
So they're both the Disneyland one is so
just
long.
Wait.
The Disneyland one is so long. You're in there for like 25 minutes. It's insane.
Our morale manager really starts to lose morale when we get on that one.
I'm really excited. I just think again, and I don't want people to think that we just slandered everything. I truly I am a Disney person to my core. Obviously, I have a Disney World name tag that I wear every day right now.
I continue to give them my money.
Yeah. And
I enjoy going every single time I go.
Yes. And I will choose them over Universal every time still, even with Epic Universe. So us talking about this is not us trying to hate on stuff or hate on people who are nostalgic for stuff. It's just, I want the best for Disney so that Disney can come and go, you're doing Epic Universe. This is what we have. And for Disney people to get excited about it. And I just think that as Disney fans, we have to kind of look and go, okay, maybe it's not original stuff like an Everest and Asia. Maybe it's not these old nostalgic things, but it's things that are really cool and we're going to love. And I think that we just kind of have to look at it that way.
But as real Disney fans, I think taking off the rose-colored glasses is really important.
Yes.
I think that that's the only way that things actually get innovated and new things happen. And it's like Brandon said, it's our way of being let us help you, help us help you. This is we're not taking out things because we want people to be miserable or we hated it from the beginning, but there's just there's been 50 years of innovation from then. There's no reason that the park should be almost the same. There's room for improvement. And most of the things we said in today's podcast there's nothing happening there. It's not like we were
areas,
like the only thing towards the end was Small World. And everything else is just kind of wasted spaces. Like we were just looking at different opportunities and like things that are already going to go away, what we would put there. And I just think that, like Brandon said, I think that D23 is going to be like, I feel the same way where I am like a little bit nervous because I am nervous that they're not going to do enough.
Well, that's my thing. That's what I was going to say. That's why that I'm anxious, because I think that like Universal doing these little video highlight reels of every land every day and being like, this is what we have. And it's got all these things popping in and out and showing all this stuff. I just worry that this really is like the clapback moment, like on August 9th or whatever, 10th, 11th, whatever day the parks panel is.
We're waiting for their diss track to drop.
Yes. And it's like, if it doesn't hit, I think that this is your opportunity and chance to make it hit. And if you don't, like, I'm very anxious about it.
No, I think there's going to be a communal groan at the expo if the things that are announced aren't like fully baked, well thought out plans.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of already started, right? I think the market, so to speak, is already kind of deciding on some of the less desirable actions that Disney has made, and specifically with the Disney parks, like Galactic Star Cruiser could have been something that legged out based on brand loyalty and kind of a willingness to pay for Disney experiences, given the kind of good track record that they've had in the past. And that did not happen. People didn't buy it. People gave pretty negative reviews when they did because it was underbaked. It was not
so expensive,
not well executed, and it was it was at a super high price point. So people were paying for an experience and they felt the experience wasn't delivered. And as such, they had to fully amortize the project within like a year and a half, 2 years. So I think that, the Disney fans, the Disney park going community has already kind of spoken and said, like, you need to come correct, or, there is going to be sort of financial ramifications.
It's a little bit crazy to me. And like, I don't want to get us off track because we need to wrap this up. But it's a little bit crazy to me that they wouldn't just repurpose that hotel into just a normal hotel. Like, just make it a Star Wars hotel instead of a cruise-like experience, and pay, like, you would have to put like moderate prices on it because the rooms are so small. But I think that, like, to just let all of that go as a tax break now, like let it sit untouched for 365 days so that you can use it as a tax write-off, I think is crazy. You put so much money into this, and I think that people would go if they could pay $400 a night instead of $3,500 for like 3 days.
Yeah, so I actually watched the 4-hour Jenny Nicholson.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, I watched it over the course of when you were gone. I watched it a little bit every night with like dinner and when I was cooking and stuff like that. It's a really good video. So if anybody's still around and has 4 hours of spare time, it's a really, really interesting video, and it provides a really interesting perspective. But something she talked about is that the hotel would lack a lot of basic amenities such as shuttling because it is backstage. It doesn't have a fitness area. It doesn't have a pool. The number of rooms, like the capacity, is significantly lower, which is why the original price point was so high. So I don't think financially, because I kind of had a similar thought, and she talked about it in the video, but it just was not sort of financially viable. But I would almost rather them kind of, if retheming it doesn't make sense, like scrap it. But it has to be, if you scrap a big project like that, there has to be something else
to replace it
in the wake. Like there has to be something to, something new and exciting. Like your last new and exciting announcement, it didn't work out. It is what it is, but there has to be more. They have to keep pushing forward, or else, some of that brand loyalty is going to erode, and people are going to start looking around and being like, well, why am I knowing Disney inflation,
knowing that they didn't have those basic amenities, maybe that's why people didn't want to go. Like, I think that they were relying on people like really committing to like the bit, like really like getting into character. And like when you look at like the grand scheme, like I get that like Star Wars fans are probably a higher percentage of people willing to like kind of get into the storyline. But when you're looking at the people who can afford to go on this, they want a pool. Give them a pool. Like they, like, you know what I mean? Like they want to like go, if they're paying $3,500 or whatever it is, they want to be able to relax, and like they could still stay in theme, but like to not have a pool and an exercise area where people are going to be going for 2 to 3 nights. That's so crazy. And that's probably part of the reason, because people felt like they were forced to participate, which is exhausting.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's up. Get off my soapbox about that, but I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
No, it's just, I think that it's, again, like to kind of tie it all in, is that we want the best for Disney, and there's things that they could do. And again, I just think that Disney's biggest strength is their IP or the things that they've like made and created. And it's what makes them so different, is that like their stories are timeless, and people like you think about one like a Toy Story. This is how like I'm gonna like use this. Toy Story like has like stood the test of time from 1990 whatever, like up till now. Kids love it because of the parks and stuff as well. Like you can go there and experience it. And I think that if they just really lean into that and know what makes Disney special but execute it well, I think that like give us some stuff that's like a Guardians level quality, but also some smaller stuff that really hits on what makes you different and special. I think that's all that people want.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will wrap it up there. It's been an hour and 25 minutes. We're getting towards an hour and a half.
More of a rant episode than Imagineering episode, but
it still stayed on theme there. Yeah. But like we said, comment down below if you agree, if you think that there's wasted space, if we missed things, or if you think that like we're totally wrong and you like the parks how they are and you would like us to leave them alone. Not that we have actually any say, but make sure that you let us know down below. And you can find us on all social medias at the Park Squad Pod, but make sure, I think definitely I would definitely subscribe on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Yep. But also I would follow us on Instagram, because just over a month we will be boots on the ground. D23 will be in Anaheim. We'll be experiencing, some of us will be experiencing Disneyland for the first time, and then some of us will be re-experiencing it, but there will be a lot posted on our joint Instagram because all 4 of us will be back together then.
Reunited.
I know, the squad's back together, but we hope that you like this kind of long-winded episode. It was fun for us.
Yeah.
So if you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, and make sure that you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.